Hey True Believers, Chris Mack coming at you today with the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, the three Jokers, the Joker Comedian. And I never thought that I was going to get my hands on this action figure. This was allegedly a GameStop exclusive. I looked and it has been long gone. So if you guys want to pick it up at the time of this recording, I'd say first and foremost, check with your local comic shop and see if someone's traded it in. If not, unless y'all have any other suggestions, I would have to say the secondary market. This one is definitely a pain in the butt to get a hold of, but if you can, it is worth it. As you can see here, we get that traditional Killing Joke looking Joker, the Joker the Comedian, DC Multiverse, McFarlane, all the stuff up there. Has the nifty little three Jokers tag there. Name on the side, come around to the back, and the product shot's okay, but I would have enjoyed if they would have used one of the covers from the three Jokers or the Killing Joke, but that's just my personal opinion. There's the figures from the wave. I'll get a close-up so you can check it out at your convenience. Come back around this way, and now it says the Joker, the Comedian from the three Jokers, and all that good stuff there. Nothing on the bottom. So with that said, let's get the Comedian out and get a closer look at him. And here's Mr. J out of the packaging. And overall, he looks really nice. This looks like the Joker that I grew up with, the kind of my generation. It just drives me nuts that they made it so hard to get a hold of, because this is one where if you kind of were a big fan of the Joker and his look from like late 80s through the 90s, this is definitely the one. Though I'm going to say there are going to be a few things that are going to drive you freaking nuts. So let's get him off the spinner and I'll talk more in detail. The first appearance of this Joker in this style was Alan Moore and Brian Boland's Batman the Killing Joke from July of 1988. This is the controversial graphic novel that gave us the possible origin of Joker as the failed comedian Jack Napier, though Joker proves to be an unreliable narrator, stating, "Sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes another. If I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice." So we don't really know if that is the origin, but hang on to your horses there for a second. This book is also known as the terrifying story of Joker paralyzing Barbara Gordon in an effort to drive Commissioner Gordon insane. He's trying to prove that one bad day can reduce the sanest man to lunacy. So if you want to read more about Barbara, retiring as Batgirl, leading up to the Killing Joke, I'd recommend reading Batgirl, special number 1 from July of 1988. Lastly, in terms of continuity, the events of the Killing Joke were not referenced in the comics until Batman number 426 from December of 1988. This is the first part of the death of the family, which is the death of Jason Todd. Now, the sequel to the Killing Joke and Batman: A Death in the Family is Jeff Johns' 2020 Three Jokers event, where we get this action figure. The three-part series kicks off in Justice League number 50 from July of 2016. In the aftermath of the Darkseid War, and Batman's hinting to Green Lantern that there may be 3 different Jokers. Now, as we move on into the actual 2020 event, the Comedian is portrayed as a dangerous, depraved, sadistic psychopath Joker from this modern age, and quite possibly the evilest of them all. He has the twisted sense of humor and is this malicious monster, feeling nothing but spite for what he sees as a cruel, irredeemable world. And in this story, the 3 clown princes of crime have plans for Joe Chill. So if you want to read the story in its entirety, which I highly recommend, go grab it from your local comic shop. With that said, let's dive into the accessories that the Comedian comes with. So first off, the obligatory stand, woohoo, stand, yeah, moving on. And I'm glad that they do give him the Killing Joke camera, because in the Three Jokers book, they talk about this one being the failed comedian, which goes back into what Alan Moore talked about in the Killing Joke. So, of course, this one rocks this camera, and, it's bulky, and I hate that we only get one resting hand and one gripping hand, because trying to put this bulky-ass camera in that hand, forget about it. That's not going to work. So you guys are going to have to get creative like I did with the spinner. So nonetheless, it's cool to have. It just, I hate that this is all over the place, but still, love accessories. Secondly, crowbar, Jason Todd's worst enemy. That gunmetal gray on this sucker looks great. I like that there's dings to make it look like it's actually been used. It would have been nice to maybe put a little bit of blood, because there's one instance in the killing, the Three Jokers, where this crowbar becomes something intense, and it's hard to read. So yeah, this looks realistic, really cool. Lastly, the trading card, which again, I wish we would have gotten like the cover of the Three Jokers, or the original Killing Joke, or just something that's not someone else's photography. It looks nice, but that's just me. I'll also throw up the back so you guys can read the profile at your convenience. Now, with that said, let's talk about the figure in and of himself. I do like, and sorry, my light setup here is sukin. I like how they put the black shadow around the eyes, just with that tiny little bit of a white pupil. Because when he paralyzes Barbara and goes in to take photos of her, she goes, I can't remember what she says, but then he lifts a drink to her and he goes, here's to crime. And his eyes have that eerie, kind of evil look to it. The green on his hair, from what hair he does have, looks good. I do wish, however, that the hat could have been removable. That would have been a nice little addition. The trench coat looks awesome. You know, it's obviously a soft plastic, which I'm thankful for. A little bow tie there looks good. The grin, awesome. Has that very old school with the dirty white teeth. Like the buckles. This reminds me very much of like a like a Rorschach jacket, so it's cool. Like the little gloves. I just wish that we would have gotten a set of both. That would have been nice. And then of course his obligatory purple pants and fancy little suede shoes. And even though you can't remove the hat, looks good. I'm glad that it's soft so you can kind of foam it, or not foam it, but form it when you warm it up to get different ideas and stuff like that. So yeah, paint apps look good. The what do you call it? The articulation, it's there. That's about the best I could say. So let's dive into that after I give you guys up focus. I'm glad that this is soft plastic, because you can get the head look down that much. Can look up that much, that way, and there's a lot of play, so you can move the head around, so you can get that evil little Joker laugh. I cannot do a Joker laugh to save my life. So arms twist, go up that way, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Now, tell me if anybody else that has this figure, if you have this issue. Look at this wrist joint real quick. See how it's open right here? So if I twist it wrong, this hand pops off, see? Would you guys suggest like a tiny needle nose things to pinch that back into place, because this hand keeps popping out and that's really freaking aggravating. Let me know if you guys have that same problem with your Joker. Moving on with the articulation, you can get them to go down about that much that way. You really have to work the coat is the problem, because all the joints are hidden up under here, which is cool. But yeah, the same thing with twisting it from side to side. I've found that I have to get up under the coat and then just ever so carefully twist him. And then he only twists so much, and I'm afraid to do anymore because I don't know, because I can't see the joint, I don't know how far he's actually twisting, and I don't want to pop him off like the Harley from the Suicide Squad. And because of the coat, legs can only go out about that far that way, that far that way. And even still, you know, because he has a soft butt flap, you can almost get it out 90 degrees. So Hasbro, hope you're paying attention. Double jointed knees. And he does have a little bit of a thigh swivel, thankfully. And then foot go down, foot go up, and there's the rocker. And then the twirl pivot goes up, of course, 90 degrees. So yeah, the articulation, the coat makes things a little bit of a pain in the ass, and that's what I meant by the cumbersome part. But still, I'm glad that he's a super bendy Joker. I have thoroughly enjoyed this Joker. I do wish that you could take the hat off. I mean, it's trademark, don't get me wrong, but it just would have been nice to be able to take off the hat and kind of get more of the Joker's face. On this one, I don't know if this is going to be the same for anybody else that picked this figure up, but that left hand, the way that joint just keeps coming undone, that is frustrating. I'm glad that it popped back in, because when it broke, I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find another one of these. So at least there's a temporary fix for that. If you guys know how to fix those type of joints, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to follow along with you guys. Other than that, it's a good figure. I wish that they would stop with the one gripping hand and the one resting hand, especially since they gave him that giant camera, and we have to sit there and deal with that instead of being able to have some grip hands and, you know, just have that assortment instead of you're limited to what you can put in the Joker's hands. That's irritating, and I hope that eventually that will change, but we shall see. Anyway, this Joker, as I said at the beginning, my childhood, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm glad to have one that's super comic accurate from The Killing Joke. If you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost just check with your local comic shop, see if you can get them in stock. Then if not, I have my fingers crossed for you that you guys can find them on the secondary market. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Joker bell next to subscribe, that way as we can continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading. Photo slideshow coming up next, and happy hunting, true believers.